Alright, just took out the transmission in the 93 Mitsubishi VR4. Took a couple weeks to do this, but finally got it out. Here's the old, here's the flywheel, the pressure plate, and the clutch. Actually not so bad. This clutch has 150,000 miles on it, and to me, it seems okay, but so that's impressive. But anyway, here's the transmission. Started out with disconnecting the reverse light, the speed sensor, the slave, and just removing what I had to remove from the engine bay. After that, actually remove the struts just to get some play to pull out the drive shafts. Here's the passenger drive shaft. Just pulled that out, pried it out. That wasn't too bad. The driver's side has two pieces. It has the axle half shaft plus a intermediary half shaft with the bearing that goes onto the block, which is a little tricky to get to. And then that second piece goes into the transmission. So pop those two out. I needed to remove the downpipe, the elbow, the downpipe, mid pipe, just to get to the half shaft and the starter. I had to take out the starter. But when that was all done, then I removed the bolts. The top four bolts are pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's these side bolts. They're kind of a pain. One you can't even see. One you have to go through the motor mount on the side with an extension. And the other one is it's a little tricky. Not as bad, but it's a little tricky. Just on the other side. This guy here, this guy and that guy. So those four, those two, and then a bunch of stays, 14mm stays, to unbolt everything. Here's where the transfer case was. The transfer case has these 5 bolts. This one here is pretty tricky to get to, but it bolts up right to here, and that's where the output shaft is for it. And then to the drive shaft, which is still in the car. It's being held up by a jack stand. So that transfer case, actually, take a look at it. Here's the transfer case here. So yeah, so there's the 5 bolts for the transfer case. That's where the output shaft goes, and that's where the drive shaft to the rear goes. That came off. All those bolts came undone. I actually didn't have that much trouble removing it. I actually put a 2x4 behind here, this bracket, and I used I think it's really a water port or water fitting, this guy here. The aluminum water and I guess as a fulcrum, popped it off, moved it around. I realized I also needed to take the slave off the extra transmission. I forgot about that. And then we pulled it out. So I'm gonna be putting it back together. Gonna first do the rear main seal, get the flywheel on, pressure plate on, clutch on, and see what I need to do to the transmission. I think I'm just gonna change some of the seals, the 2 input shaft seals. That should be okay. I don't think the transfer case needs it. And then put everything back together and see how it does. I'll have an update once that's done.